Hi, very good afternoon, good evening to the people who are with us. So let us see. Let's wait who all are coming today. We have a discussion on literature review writing, and in my opinion, it's a very important um aspect of any thesis, any paper. Hi, good afternoon, Anand. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good evening, Priya. Let us wait. Let the people come. Yeah, so today we have literature review in our kitty. With that, we will talk about different aspects of literature review. Where can you collect literature? What are the different sources of literature? Because this is, I think, one of the most time-taking section of any dissertation, any research paper when you talk about. And this was about the topic which we are going to speak on, and myself, Dr. Renu. I'll be taking you through this webinar on behalf of research graduate, and I'm currently based in Melbourne, Australia, wherein I am associated with the education industry here as well. And I would try to the best of my skills and expertise that I'll make you averse with all the best possible sources, or probably the important thing is that how you can actually structure, how you can actually streamline literature, and how can you conclude it. So all we'll go through. We'll also have a highlight on plagiarism, getting rid of plagiarism, removing plagiarism, that we'll have a look on that. Plus slight bit of attention will be given on referencing. So that all will be into today's discussion. Okay, so this webinar is planned in alignment with the requirement that what the trend which is going on these days, that um, you know uh, much of unwanted information students collect or consider to be a part of literature review, just in case of raising the number of words as and when it is not fulfilling the word count. So what happened is that in lieu of that, we end up adding too much of information which is not relevant, which is not needed at first case, and also which is not you know required. That's what I have seen the trend, that just literature review is being taken as very casual section of a paper, which is otherwise the case. Okay, so let us begin with the webinar. So as I told you that this webinar we organize on behalf of research graduate, or rather I should say that these webinars are being organized by research graduate, wherein you can consider research graduate for all your research queries. If anybody is going through any topic selection problem, any statistical analysis issues, research methodology confusions, any kind of editing, proofreading you guys wants to do, so you can rely on research graduate. And this is a one-stop solution for all of you. All right. When it comes to contacting research graduate, you may get in touch with the given email ID, that is info at the rate researchgraduate.com. You can also WhatsApp, or you can make call, that is on +918951468293, and you can browse research graduate on researchgraduate.com. Okay, now I'll just tell you a brief about this webinar. Generally, the webinar is being scheduled and planned for 90 minutes or so. And like we can stretch it beyond 90 minutes or so. This is not the specific deadline, just idea how long the webinar will go around, followed by a question and answers round, which definitely it's not bound by the time. It is completely dependent on your number of questions. Each and every questions will be taken care well of. The recordings and the certificates and the PPTs, which we'll be going to use in this webinar, will be sent to you on your registered email ID. So make sure that you all you register with the email ID which you are regularly using. Okay. Plus, another suggestion is that just increase your video quality on YouTube by 720p so that you can have a better experience. I know that a couple of you would have joined from your cell phones. They might can have a glitch because the mobile phones doesn't give you a better quality of video all the time. Okay, so let's get started. This is the time for us to start. Now, first and foremost question comes to us: what is literature review? I'll take you through the entire webinar in a very simple and easy language so that all of you can have a fair good understanding about the concept itself and what exactly is it. Okay, so when you talk about literature review, guys, it is basically, let's understand by breaking the term. Literature is anything which is documented and published and is related to your field. That is literature for you. And that can be in the form of journal papers, that can be in the form of articles, that can be in the form of books, that can be in the form of cases, that can be in the form of conference proceedings. So anything which is published and of your domain. So this is your literature. Now, when you say review, that means you are reading that published material for your purpose. Okay, you're reading that blog, or you're reading that article, you're reading that paper book for your purpose, as in to be included in your study. Okay, that is called as review. So ultimately what you are doing is you are reviewing the already published material which is of your domain and doing literature review. This is the simplest explanation. Okay, so when you are actually preparing a report which you have prepared on your review of the published material related to your topic, that means you're working on your literature review in simplest form. Okay, all right. So if somebody asks you tomorrow that what is literature review, just straight away tell this. So whenever you are, just going through any, like I said, book, case study, articles, conference proceeding, and you are investigating, that means you are researching on that, what this author said, what that author said, how it is related to my topic. Not everything under that literature is also of your concern. You have to dig out that. Now, when I say review, like understand, when I'm saying reviewing, that means filtering first of all that what exactly is of your concern, how this literature can be related to my work, how it is contributing to my work, and how there is a gap between what I have planned and what have already been done. This is called review. Okay, so whenever you are doing a literature review, just understand why you are doing it, because just for the sake of doing literature review, you should not do it. Okay, you should always understand that if I'm doing my literature review, why exactly I am doing it, what is the purpose of doing my literature review. So literature review actually lays a very good foundation for your good research. If you have done your literature, thoroughly done your literature review, that means you will get a hands on understanding of what has been done in the past related to your work and what is the scope, or rather I should say that what is yet to be done in your domain, that is research gap, what somebody has not been gone through. So a well read literature gives you a fantastic direction for your research gap, which further lays on to the research questions and research objectives. Okay, all right, now moving on further. So what exactly should be the objectives of literature review? Why you do it, right? We do it because, like I told you, what others have done. Now, also, very important thing, you go through a lot of papers, lot of studies in the past, they give recommendations by the end. Okay, so when you are reading those papers, when you're reading those articles, from those recommendations, that's a tip actually, from those recommendations you can actually get an idea for your study, because any which ways you're going through the article which is related to your domain, right? So any recommendation which is given in that paper can be like, when most of the times it happen, or like I should say that majority of the time we should it happens that I don't want to do a research, I want to write a paper, but don't know on what. Okay, so in this situation, particularly in this situation, it'll be very helpful that if you if you go through the recommendations which are given to the end of the papers, okay, which are given to the end of the papers, so you'll probably find a direction for your own study. Now here is also a catch. The catch is that if you are reviewing any paper which is 5 7, or let's say roughly around 8 years old, right, like 5 to 10 years old, in between that domain, now that recommendation you can't really catch up on for your paper. Reason being, obviously if it's 5 to 7 8 years old paper, there are very high chances that the topic, the recommendations are already being converted into topics, that is, the research has been already done. Okay, so if you are going through any recent literature, I would say that recent 5 years would be okay. So in that case it will be easy for you to consider those recommendations for your own study. Plus, definitely your literature review gives you a highlight on your research gap. That means the area which we'll also talk about in detail, research gap. That means the area which has not been done in past. Plus, you will get to know that, like I said during the onset of the webinar, that how the previous work can actually lay a bridge to your work. Okay, and what are the different ways of conducting research, and what are the different problems previous authors have gone through. One more important thing, sorry, this is specifically for the authors which are relatively new in research writing. For them, I'm particularly telling, when you read, when you read different papers, okay, when you go through different literature, many a times what happens is you don't understand anything. Just don't worry about that time. Just read it. Okay. Now, how that reading will help you? That reading will help you to develop your own style of writing. You're getting my point. So, if somebody is not understanding the technical whereabout of the paper, take it as a positive sign, as in, okay, fine, I'm gaining something that how I can write papers. So that style of writing also get improves. Okay. All right. So moving ahead, where can you actually look for your literature review? Definitely books. Okay, now these days, physical books or online books, wherever you, which are public, you know, okay, feasible for you. You can go to different libraries. You can go to your own institution's library, and then you may find for relevant books for you. Okay, just give me a second. All right. So whenever you are, looking for the books, physical, online, so visiting different libraries can serve as a purpose. I'm telling you some free sources of literature here. Like what do I mean by free sources here? That means which does not require you any kind of subscription. Okay, like open library. Okay, view library, National Digital Library of India. This is particularly for the people who are residing in India. There are many free libraries for other part of the world as well. They are all digital. Okay, then you have reference materials in encyclopedias or dictionaries. Now, why encyclopedias, dictionary? Because there are different domains of research. So, depending upon your area of another, like I have given some examples like Oxford Research Encyclopedia, Britannica Encyclopedia. Now, one thing here is do not consider Wikipedia as a source of your literature, right? Why? I'll tell you the reason. Because anything which is published on Wikipedia, it can be editable, and many a time it is not sufficed, or it is not supported with a well proved logic or well proved source. Okay, so I would say that, or nobody actually go for Wikipedia for their source of literature. Okay, so anything which is published on Wikipedia, you don't consider as a source for your literature. Okay, then there are many journals, like the journals which I have mentioned in front, like JSTOR, SSRNR, Sage Open. They are again the kind of journals which does not require any subscription. Okay, like there is one more also portal, that is academia.com, where you just need to register yourself. Okay, there also you can find good literature, good papers related to your domain. Then comes conference papers. Now, conference paper here is conference proceeding. You can go for a Google Scholar. You can search. You can look for your sources of literature. Now, why I'm telling you to consider conferences, conference proceedings, go for them. Why? Because see, conferences always happen on the latest trend which is going on in your research field. Like for example, I'll tell you AI, artificial intelligence, is in a lot of town, a lot of talk in the town, right? How there are a lot of confusions that how they are going to replace our jobs, or are they going to replace our job? What kind of productive contribution they make, these AI, or how perplexity is actually going to replace Google, or is it going to replace Google, and so on. There is a lot of discussion in different field, even in education also, research also, like how scholars are actually relying on chat gpt, which is not a good source. Actually, I would not say that it's not a good source, but it cannot be 100% trusted upon, because you know because chat gpt gives you a very generic information. Okay, but you as a researcher is aiming for something which is very specific. Okay, so AI is the latest trend. So any conference which has been organized on AI and the aspects of AI will give you hidden insights of the domain. So anybody who is planning their research, or who is actually in the research of this domain, you would definitely get benefited. Okay, so this is another sources of your literature. Now, a couple of more resources are like your dissertation and thesis, like previous published dissertation and thesis. Now, what benefit do they give? The previously presented dissertation and thesis actually take you through the entire way of writing a thesis. Okay, now there you get to know the introduction, methodology section, entire literature. Now, within those literature, let's say you are going for my dissertation, okay, which I did for PhD. Now, I did my PhD on change management. So all those sources of literature which I have used for my dissertation can actually become your sources as well. So if you are also planning your thesis, or your search on change management, so you may find the related literature in my dissertation as well. Okay, so basically, focusing on any other dissertation or any previous thesis will give you a um, getaway, or will give you a insight on many sources of literature which you might would have taken time for. Okay, then source where you can get these on Shodh Ganga, on EBSCO, and dissertation, you can actually find these dissertation. Then definitely internet is another source of literature. I would say that rather these days, what is the happening is that people are actually only relying on Google for their literature and rather entire thesis. Okay. Now the question comes that, okay, I have my topic in hand, right? I want to do on this. Now, the first and foremost thing your supervisor will say you that go and look for the literature on this. Now, the one I'm talking about, the researchers who are good in finding, literature, who has a hands-on experience or literature, they would be finding it okay. Okay, fine. My supervisor had told me that I need to work on this and this topic, and I'll be good to go, right? But what about them? Those who do not have any experience or they're really a newbie in research. What to do with them? So, the way I'm telling is applicable for both who is good at research or who is trying their hand in research as well. So firstly, you need to have your keywords. Okay. Now, what exactly keywords do? Or let me tell you an example of a topic. Let's say you want to pursue your research on cybersecurity, like how cybersecurity is actually being considered as a source of information or rather as a course in universities. So you are somehow clear that I want to study how cybersecurity education is being given through the university. So this is something which you are focusing on. So no topic, no title has been decided yet. So now you had the keywords that cybersecurity. Now related word with that, cybersecurity in universities is something I want to work on. So your main idea, what exactly you want to work on, gives you an insight about your keywords. Okay, like if somebody wants to work on consumer behavior, okay, so consumer behavior is one set of words, purchase behavior is one set of words, consumer buying behavior is one set of words, like related word which will give you a set of literature or plethora of literature you'll get through if you are juggling with a lot of keywords. Okay, now firstly identify your keywords. That's what we've spoken about. So this is what is you need to very mindful about your spellings, just because, like, for example, here I have mentioned the example of organization or organization. Another is color, COLOUR. Okay, labor, LOBOUR. You just need to be little mindful about that. Let me just have UK style of spelling, or let me just have US style of spelling, so that your main I see your main agenda is to get more and more articles. So apply all the permutation combination, simple. Okay, then comes connect your search words. Now you have different words. It is like we are just making a puzzle solved. So we have different keywords with us. Now you need to relate it. Now, like I said, cybersecurity in university, cybersecurity education, okay, consumer buying behavior process, purchase behavior factors, something like that, which you have, which you are wishing to investigate upon. Just relate those search words. Okay, okay. Then comes, you will have to use the database limiters. Now let me just tell you firstly what are the database limiters. I just related very much similar to the online shopping which we do. Okay, like whenever you all are aware of Amazon, right? So let's say you're looking for a t-shirt or a shirt on Amazon. Okay, so you find some, firstly men's shirt. Okay, now in that also you go for a particular size, particular color if you're looking for, a particular fit you're looking for, particular pattern, fabric. So all these filters you put on, right? So after these filters, what you get is exactly what you are looking for, right? Same thing is applicable here. Same thing. Database limiters, what they tell you that you firstly go for finding your right kind of discipline. Then if you're looking for peer reviewed journal, or you're looking for books, or you're only looking for cases, you'll put that, you'll put your subject. So basically, out of the whole ocean, you're picking up your specific investigation by putting on these limiters. And these limiters are always there in any database, for example EBSCO, Scopus. Okay, so these are the database. Then come, okay, now one thing I would like to tell you all that I'm sure that you might be having a lot of questions, but I would appreciate that if we can keep the questions stored for the last of the webinar, so that first let us deliver the webinar. Just make a note of your questions on your notepad, because if they are in the chat I might be able to find it, but just in case they missed, so we'll take care of all the questions once we are done with the webinar. Okay, all right. Now, just let me take one questions, because it'll be then in the middle of the chat. Can we use AI for as source of information? Yes, you can. See, I'm not saying I'm not against of using AI, or I'm not definitely saying that do not use AI at all. No, you can. But having said that, I've also wants to tell you that you need to be rest assured that the information which is being shared with you through AI is supported with any proof. Okay, all right. Then comes the next trick in searching effectively is truncation. Truncation means when you are ending the word, or you're putting any putting asterisk and at the end of the any word. Like for example, if you're saying refuel asterisk, so that means anything which is related to refuel, that is refuel, refueling, refuel, all the titles, all the studies which have these similar kind of words, or like as a truncated word also, they will be a part of your search. Okay, all right. Otherwise what happen is, if you'll type refuel, only refueling will come. Now it's very important. Reason being, I'll tell you that this is actually related to the question which has been asked by AI, that how actually we get to know that the sources which we are working on, the literature sources, the paper which we have found out, are they good enough to be trusted? Okay, how will you get to know? Because many of the time, or couple of the times, examiner can actually ask you, what is the credibility of the papers you have chosen for your study? How will you say that these are the right kind of papers, or rather they are authenticated or credible sources of literature? So in that case, what you do is, while you are searching for your literature, in that case only, just not be blindfolded that whatever comes to your list I'll accept it. No, 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 just let it be a part of my literature. No, just be mindful there as well, by choosing, or rather I would say that by evaluating the sources. Now how will you do that? Firstly, look for the language of that paper, or of whatever source of literature you have gone through. It should be there should be no spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, punctuation error. There should be no. Okay, so it should be error free work of literature. Okay, then you should be able to make sense of that paper. Okay, there should be a lot of what do you say, that mistakes which you will, just when you'll go through the paper, you'll find out. Second thing is that, is the paper really, and this is very important as well, is the paper really useful to me? Now when I say really, Useful to me means, let's say I said I want to work on consumer behavior in urban areas. Okay. Now, urban areas can also depicts a lot of variations. What exactly I am looking at, that kind of coverage of the paper you also should look for. Okay. Then, you know, there has to be look on the author of the paper as well. We generally ask it credibility and authentication. So, what is the qualification of the author, and how the author is affiliated to which university, which or institute. That matters a lot. Somebody asked me, Priya, you said literature tool. Yes, there are many. Basically, there are like distiller. You have semantic scholar, so you may choose the literature tool as well. I would again say that please, store your questions for the end of the webinar. Okay. Now, what are the quality of the or rather features of the quality literature review? Firstly, you are not just writing literature review for the sake of it. Very important. Second thing, you also needs to assure that, and this is a very important topic point. Please make sure that your literature is up to date. Okay, please make sure it is up to date. Now, what I meant by saying it is up to date means that you take literature which is 10 years, up to 10 years. Okay, do not take very old literature. Okay, now it does not mean that everybody is restricted to use the old literature. Why? Because you may be covering some topic which has to be used, which is to be used very models or theories or cases which are published like probably a decade back or 15 years back, which is okay. But if your literature is flooded with older information, then it is not up to date. So up to 10 years is the timeline which I think you should consider for your literature review. Okay, now depending upon your topic as well, again I'm saying. Second thing is this, that now if somebody asks that why there is like 10 years limit or something like that, because you know the discussion on every topic is definitely would not be the same. What happened in 1996, a lot of changes have been happened. So if I'm sure that you might have approached one or two studies of back then time, which is okay, but majority of that time is not something which one needs to go through. I will take one more question here. Please repeat on uncreation. See, basically, um, I will just take it here. Let's say you are finding a literature on a topic like child behavior. Okay. Now, here you are actually you actually would like to understand how child behave in kindergarten. So, maybe the related literature in your topic have used children or child. Okay, so child and children, let's say if you say child asterisk, that means any word which has the same meaning as children or written as children in some other paper will also come to your search. Okay, that is like buying, bought, same thing. Okay. Now coming for the features of good quality literature. So as I told you, the most important thing is that please don't use too much of outdated references. Okay, plagiarism should not be there. I'll tell you how you can avoid plagiarism. Okay, plus there has to be a proper structure of the literature. That also I'll touch upon today. Okay, I think by for now all of you must have gotten a fair good idea that how you write a good, or rather what exactly is the purpose of a literature review. Again, most important and the foremost one is to fill out the gap which was there in the past in the literature. Okay, and you actually bridge the gap between what's there and what should be there. So your study is what should be there. Okay. Okay. Now the action time of literature review. Now from here you will actually get to know that what exactly should be the components of your literature review. Okay, I'll just quickly go through them with you one by one. Now, couple of things you need to take care of. Historical background of the research. Now here, historical background in the research, you might have a question in your mind that you said that not too old research should be done. Yes, historical background simply says that what has been discussed by the authors who have worked in your similar kind of research. Now, there is a difference. One is similar kind of research, like you are talking about association between um, teachers' perception and students' learning. Okay, you're working on this topic. So, what kind of researches has happened in the past on the similar pattern? I'll not say exactly same, but similar one. Okay. And another one is which just says your historical background of the research, that what exactly prompt what has been discussed in the past related to this topic. Then what is happening right now? Current questions. This is actually very important, you know, inclusions in the literature review. That what was the history? What is being discussing right now? Any major theories or definitions or concepts that any terminology would you like to discuss in your literature? This is very important part. And here you can also mention that who all have actually discussed this kind of terminology, what are the different ways of discussing those terminology, how different authors and have actually worked on that terminology. Okay, then lastly you present that gap. We will also look in how we can actually discuss that gap. Okay. Today we will avoid a break. Otherwise, we take a break because the flow is going on. So we'll avoid taking a break today. Let's continue with it. All these factors which we have discussed to be included in literature review, I'll take separately one by one as we progress through the webinar. Now the questions come that how many types of literature review we do? Okay. Now, what thing happen is that what I have seen teaching in different universities, different parts of the world, I'm telling you on on that experience that different universities gives you different structure or different requirement that if you're working on this kind of study that your literature review should be evaluative or exploratory or instrumental. That kind of requirement happens in different universities in different parts of the world. Okay, now, first and foremost out of that is your evaluation or evaluative review. Now, evaluative review basically talks about that what is being covered in that area or in that topic of knowledge. You are just evaluating like this happened, this happened, this happened, presenting that kind of discussion. That's it. Then comes exploratory review. Exploratory review talks about different theories in that domain, what are the different research methods that's being worked on. Now how the relevance of discussing difference of different research methods used by previous authors, I will tell you here. This is very this is very important to be focused here. If anyone in the past have used qualitative research methods on one topic, okay, that person or that research will have different my internet is, I think, slightly problematic today. So, if somebody has used qualitative methods, he or she will get different results, okay? But on the similar domain, if somebody has used quantitative methods, what is the difference in the findings? That has been told to you. That will be told to you by the exploratory review. You are exploring how different method used got different results, what kind of results they got. That's what is the literature review is all about. Literature review is nothing. See, you need to understand this. Literature review is not just reading the paper. just going through the definitions. No, it's about understanding the whole methodology of the paper as well. That's exploratory review. Now, when you talk about instrumental review, what exactly does it mean? Instrumental review is basically you are conducting a literature review on a very specific problem, on a very specific, very fine tuned, very narrow research problem. Okay, so there, what was happening is your literature will also be very specific. What do you want to look on? Okay, all right, let's move ahead. Now comes what is to be, what is to be included in literature review. That's done. Now comes what is to be done while writing literature review. How is the process to go through? See, first and first, very important, I would like to tell you here is that literature review is not something which you actually can just write it and progress to the next chapter and never come back to literature review. It's not like that. Okay, why? I'll tell you. Because, see, particularly to the ones who are doing their thesis, we generally give 3-4 years to our PhD. Okay, back in West, it can take less time as well. But generally, it's 3-4 years. Now, literature review is the first thing you start working on. So, imagine in those 4 years, definitely there are going to be some changes in literature review. Has to be, right? So, it is not a process, it is not a chapter which is once done and never to be looked back. You believe you me, when I did my thesis, when I was writing my thesis, literature review is the last thing which went on with me. I was just flipping around that, okay, fine, 6 month maths, I gone through this paper and similar study has been done by somebody else today. They represent some other variables which can be discussed in my work as well. These kind of things you keep on adding. Now, people will say that that means literature review never ends. I would say that yes, it never ends. There are some, no, not any major addition. If you're done with the structure, if you're done with the major part of writing of the literature review, I would not say that any major changes would happen. But yes, slight additions, slight deletions will keep on happening. Okay, so whenever you're writing the literature review, just go back, have a quick look, just come back. Okay, before submitting your thesis and before submitting your research paper, because even the journal public editors also look upon on this thing that how relevant your literature is. Yes, like I'm associated with couple of journals for their as their editor, so we look upon, it's not only methodology which is to be touched upon. Okay, which is to be touched upon. Yes, we give feedback on the outdated literature as well. So when if you are submitting your papers for publication, just have a look on your recent, just flip around the pages of literature before you submit your paper. Similar thing for the study also. Okay, and whenever you are writing the literature, irrespective any kind of literature it is, you may have to apply the same procedure for all of them. Okay, okay. Now comes organizing literature review. I think this is the most tedious task which one has to do, because when you're doing or when you're writing literature, there is plethora of information. What happens is, this paper is good, okay, fine, saved. This paper is good, okay, fine, saved, highlighted. Lot of information is there. The question comes, and rather the confusion comes, how to write it. There are softwares like Zotero, Mendeley, which actually do a great deal of job for you for organizing your literature. They basically prepare a good referencing list for you and then store the good literature for you. Okay. However, giving a structure to your literature comes back to your shoulder. One way you can do is like organizing literature reviews means which information will come, 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 which information will come according to which order, like this should be discussed prior, this should be discussed later, all this. Okay, now when you talk about chronology of event way of organizing your literature, here you talk about the occurrence of those events in order. Okay, like which discussion happens when, which discussion happened when. Chronology, you may start with the latest one, you may start with the pre oldest one, like ascending descending, what we talk about. Okay, then comes your publication. Now when I talk about a publication, that means you talk about that when that that important publication happened. After that, there was a development on the results of those previous publication, you discuss that. It is similarly like chronology of events. Here it is chronology of publications. Okay, then come methodological. Methodological, here you talk about the publication based on the methodology discussed. Like, for example, you primarily choose to discuss the papers which have adopted qualitative review and discuss their results. Then you move on to quantitative, then you move on to fixed, something like that. A mix of all you can also go for. Another one which I very fondly use for my researches, for my thesis as well, I did the same thing. Arranging the literature by variables. Now you organize your literature based on the discussion of the variables. Like, for example, consumer behavior. Okay. Now, consumer behavior, like the way we buy things, that's consumer behavior for all those who do not understand. What actually affects my purchase? So if I'm going to make, if I want to go and buy clothes, okay, what factors will come into play? My age, gender, income, my preferences of colors, fabric, all these many factors. So I'll first discuss the studies which are talking about age variable, then income variable, then gender variable. Okay, so this is the way you arrange or you organize your literature based on the variables. Okay, now another one thing very important I would like to tell you, through your literature, through your literature, you also get to talk about, or you also get the highlight of your variables. Now, variables are primarily those factors which are generally be discussed or around which your study is, revolving around. So these are those factors around which your studies are revolved around. These are those elements which you will be discussing in your studies. Okay, so with your properly done literature, you will be finding your variables as well. Okay, I'm sure in northern part of India or in many part of the India there is summer knocking the doors, but here in Melbourne is started getting cold. Okay, now comes to structuring literature review. Now, structuring literature review is that now we know that, okay, that we are arranging, let's say, for example, our literature on the basis of variable. That's said and done. Now, how actually will give a body, or probably will give a structure to a literature review that is worth reading. Okay. Now, in that case, the first part, or when you start writing literature review, irrespective of your paper or your thesis, first thing which you do is planning your introduction. Okay. Now, what to write in introduction? Introduction will have when you're just introducing the topic to the reader. Not major discussion is happening here. It's just that you're giving a fair good idea to the reader that this is my topic, and you're just developing a base in his mind. Then you will also talk about that why exactly you're reading it. So in that, when you are writing why exactly you're reading it, you may support your statement, you may support your claims with previous studies which has reflected the importance of this topic. Okay, this is very important. So anything which you claim in your paper literature review has to be backed upon by previous studies. Okay, then comes your main body of literature. In main body of literature, you talk about main theories, you talk about the background of this topic, or you talk about various variables, good and bad thing which has been discussed in the previous studies, what results were mainly discussed, what the limitations was mainly discussed. So main discussion happens in the main body of literature review. Any terminology which you would like to talk about, so you will introduce that terminology in introduction, but you will discuss that terminology in main body. Okay, all right. Then comes your conclusion. Conclusion is where, like every other body of write-ups, where you summarize your top. Okay, now every time, please, you just say, you just please make sure in your mind that you are not talking bad about the topic. This is why I'm talking about, why I'm stating this thing, because this is something which is a major feedback I'm encountering these days. You are not criticizing your topic, then, because it's a obvious question, then why did have you chosen the topic? Okay, it's just that you, in conclusion, you're just reflecting the usability of this topic, like implications, what we say, and what is your overall perspective. So your perspective will come in the conclusion part of the literature, and your perspective on the literature, that how the various studies have talked about, what variables they have highlighted on the literature only, not on the study. Okay, any major argument which you want to highlight again, which I've already discussed in main body, but you would like to give a retouch in conclusion, so in different language you may choose to discuss that again. Okay, all right. Now come, this is an example which I wanted to show that, here is the introduction, and this part is mainly the conclusion, and mainly the main body, and this is your conclusion. Just have a look on it once. See, if you see, however, sorry, everywhere it is in text citations. Now if you see here, these two authors, the discussion on these two authors are being linked here. Okay, so this is one such example. Now come, how you summarize literature review. Now summarizing literature review basically is again a crucial one. Reason being, as I told you, that you have plethora of information. Now here summarizing, like I discussed, can be done with the softwares like Zotero and Mendeley, but just one way of doing it can be this. You can make an actually a tabular form where you have discussed the authors which you have discussed, what kind of study they have done, what kind of aim they have done, data collection how they have done, findings, what all this. Then this is also one way of summarizing your literature review. Okay, like what was the name of the author, what was the purpose, which is the source of literature, and what was the summary points. Okay, now another again a touch back upon the literature review, that is how to conclude it. Because see, why I'm again telling you this, because being a reviewer, I'm telling you, what happened is we generally might not read your entire literature all the time, especially in thesis, because who will read, you know like 20-25 pages of literature review in a 150-page thesis. But we tend to go for, like, I'm a literature review person. If I'm getting a thesis for review or I'm getting a paper for review, I definitely go through the literature, because that gives me a clarity of the researcher's head. You might be very good in methodology, but have you done your homework well? That I get to know from your literature review. Have you able, or are you able to identify your variables well? And have you supported the choice of your variables well in the literature review? That all I get to know from a literature review. And specifically from a conclusion part. So how you are summarizing all the literature which has been this. See, always remember, when you are concluding literature review, this is nothing to be talked, they're not just to be discussed about your methodology, your findings. No, you are just talking about the literature which you have reviewed. Okay, so your conclusion of the review should tell me that what have been done in the past, what is the current state on which you are working on. Okay, plus very mandatory your research gap, and how the future areas of study you have explored from that literature. All this will come in your conclusion. Okay, because obviously in a thesis, a conclusion is again 3-4 pages, right? So all this information needs to be going there. Okay, all right. Now this is the way you may actually write a conclusion: summarizing major contributions, major flaws or gaps, any contribution for the future research, and your opinion. Okay, now again, that's a very, very, very um good and important result of literature review. Like, why I said result of literature review, because this is something which you get through your literature review. Now many a times what happen is students can come to us that I didn't find any gap, and what we do is we send them back to review the literature. Because if a literature is being properly reviewed, then you will definitely get the research gap. Because ultimately, the purpose of literature review is nothing but to find is to give you a gap which has not been done previously, right? So, what exactly is a gap? Firstly, you should understand that any problem, any issue, or any concern, like when I say problem as a research problem, any research problem which you might want to address but has not been addressed in the previous researchers. Okay, any question, any research objective which is being not been answered in the previous years. Okay, that is your research gap. Okay, so simple language, what is being missing or not been addressed. Okay, all right. So this research gaps tells you that this area, this aspect needs to be done urgently. Hmm? Now let's have an example. Let's say we are talking about career study among school students in India. Like, what exactly students, the ones who are done with their schools, um, are aiming for their career, and how these career choices are being imposed by, you know, family circle or parents. So the aim is to determine that how the students, that's what the general trend is, that what the students feel when they are being mm, forced to take a particular career choice. This is what is the research aim, is that to uncover the experiences of the students. Now research gap is here is that, although the experiences are being discussed by previous researchers, but many studies have not been yet done for their withdrawn behavior. Withdrawn behavior means that once the student is being asked to choose any particular career, so they detach themselves from society, they do not talk much with the people. So how they exclude themselves from the society or socially withdrawn behavior, this is something which has not been conducted much research upon. So always remember, when you're talking about research gap, this kind of language to be used, that based on the literature review it was found that there is no or limited study. Do not only say that no study. So here you have find out the gap, that socially withdrawn behavior has not been understood or discussed by many authors in the past. Okay, so always make sure that you write that there was no or limited study, because if tomorrow your reviewer is saying no, I have read one study, So just be on the safer side, say limited study. Okay. Then next. So the research aim is to determine the experiences, why we need to do this study, because so that we can actually, now here I will tell you, here it was a research gap. Now you have to justify one thing, that why, because okay fine, you understood the students withdraw themselves from society, socially withdrawn behavior is the gap, but why you want to do this, why the study needs to be done, this justification needs to be discussed very importantly by the end of your literature, because how students feel, on the basis of that certain programs can be made for them for their career decision making, that what kind of career they should go for, what are the career choices which otherwise are not being discussed by their parents, or what other discussions can take place between the family and the kid. So this is actually the usability of the study which you have to justify. Okay. All right. So why there is an important urgency to revisit your research gap, so that you have a unique research, deep knowledge of the topic, because somebody says that understanding or the experiences of the students you are talking about, so and you have come up with this socially withdrawn behavior, so you have enriched that knowledge, you have enriched that literature. Now always one thing very important, that that's why, I'm sure that now you will be able to relate it, that why I said that do not go for the recommendation of the studies which are done very previously or dated back, because during that scenario, during that time period, many researchers might have done on the same topic, so that exactly is not a research gap anymore, that exactly is something which need to be worked now, because it's a dated back literature, people would have worked on that. Okay, I think now it makes sense. Okay, question comes, how you can find the research gaps. The answer is that start something which you're passionate about. Now passionate about something, any domain, any area which actually holds your interest, you should start your research with that. Find a research gap in that. Okay, now one catch here I would like to tell you, that always make sure that you are on the same page with your supervisor, with your research supervisor, because his or her interest in your study also needs to be there, because the person is going to guide you through your journey. Okay. All right. Then see, these are the some latest trends which I have listed here like this. So any recent trend which you think that is coming up with my domain, you may start looking for that. Then recent literature review, I just discussed about that you should do it. Okay, now this is one is impact of virtual teaching on teachers, like this digital teaching, what is the impact of that, because we always talk about how does students feel about it, that what kind of influence or impact is there on the students, but very less studies have been done on what is the impact on the teachers. So there is psychological impact, there is a need to develop their skills or to engage the students, all this. Okay, so impact on work life balance, this needs to be find out. So basically you looked on to the impression of virtual teaching on teachers, you found out that there are a couple of what do you say that research is going on. They have talked about that what is the psychological impact, they have talked about they need to develop their skills, they have talked about they need to engage the students, but nobody or very few have talked about how they manage their life with this kind of work. Even though you are at work, but you have continuous parents sitting on your heads, they are watching their kids performance, you have been given extra work thinking that you're not coming to work, you're just engaged in digital teaching. So how in the such scenario teachers are actually maintaining their work life balance? This is a gap. So what I'm discussing right now is a example. Okay. Okay. Now, so we are done with the literature review, but this is very important. I would like just tell you a couple of things related to plagiarism. See, plagiarism these days is something which is very increasingly making its way for students' research. How? First, understand what is plagiarism. See, whenever you are using anybody else's content, anybody else's idea, anybody else's material, but not giving um, you know credit to the source by naming the author, that's a pure plagiarism. Okay, couple of questions. If I'm copying my own content, that is some other paper has been published in the past, but I'm copying it, but not mentioning my own name, yes, it is plagiarism. It is called self plagiarism. Okay. Another thing is, if I copy the content but I mention the author's name, yes, it is plagiarism. Because the major rule of avoiding plagiarism is rephrasing. Change the language without changing the meaning of it. Okay? All right. But here is a catch, that you cannot change the language of a definition. So there is XYZ definition given on the term by any author. You cannot change that definition. You have to just copy it like that with the source mentioned. Plus, you cannot change the quote said by some author or some famous celebrity or some famous academician. You can't change the words of the quote. It's two things: definition and the quote you can't change, and you always have to put them into inverted commas. That's why we always suggest the student that do not fill in your literature with too many definitions, because it is eventually going to give you high plagiarism. Last is that if I substitute few words, yes, it is plagiarism, because you're just replacing couple of words. You're not changing the entire language. Only language needs to be changed, not the meaning. One another important thing, rather very important thing, I would tell you that many students, they have started using AI these days, and there are software available. Like for example, you submit your work on Moodle or turn it in, you submit your work. You probably don't get to know your AI plagiarism, but we as a faculty, we understand your that this work has been AI driven, or this work has been AI developed, because we get that percentage of AI plagiarism. Okay. Another very loophole in using AI, or rather, let's say, many students use Chat GPT to develop their work. See, Chat GPT or using Chat GPT is not something an offensive one, unless and until your university has completely prohibited it. Chat GPT gives you a very generic information. Obviously, it's a software which is being fed with the data, again by humans only, right? So it will not cater to anything and everything. It will give you very generic info. Like for example, you're talking about neuroscience, neurology. So for ChatGPT, neuroscience and neurology is same. It sounds same for that. It gives you the same information for both these topics, because your research objectives are different. Your research questions are different. So you need to know, or you can very well understand that what specifications I need in my discussion. Okay, yeah. For outlining, for alignment, you may use it AI, right? I'm not saying. Again, there's a catch, that as long as your university and your supervisor permits it. Okay. But whole reliance on chat GPT or AI, I would discourage it, because you as a researcher understands better. your research requirement as compared to ChatGPT, which eventually is going to give you a very generic information. Okay, so just keep in mind. And ChatGPT AI or AI plagiarism is easily detectable by reviewers. Okay, okay, couple of things, couple of examples for paraphrasing, which I told you, by which you can actually avoid your plagiarism. Okay, so if I just read out one text for you, that is, the task of engineer is to produce the correct product at the correct cost at the correct time, which has been stated by Fox 1977. This is the original text. Now I have to take this. How? If I exactly copy like they say, it will give me high plagiarism. But I want to rephrase it without changing the meaning of the sentence. So that can be Fox 1977 states that an engineer needs to come up with the right product, the right time, at the reasonable price. Now, if you'll say, you will say that you have rephrased correct with right, but correct cost I have changed with reasonable cost with price. So it's just shuffling of the words, placement of the words, like I did Fox to here, but keeping the meaning intact. Another example is, if a product misses its window of opportunity, the manufacturer can lose, pardon the mistake error, up to 33% of the life cycle profits by Alder 2002. Now, how did I rephrase it? According to Alder 2002 or Alder 2002, I mean, you just simple say that Alder 2002, or you can say that according to, claims that 33% of them, or if you're using Alder 2002, like here, I've showed it, if you're using Alder 2002, you will simply say that claims that. Now, if you'll use according to Alder 2002, you will say according to Alder 2002, start from here, 33% of profit. Okay, so then in this section, if you're using this, then claims that will not come. If you're using this, sorry, if you're using this, then claims that will come. Okay, I hope this is clear with you all. Now, again, very important aspect. When you are trying to avoid your plagiarism, what is to be done? That is referencing. Okay, let's take and understand referencing one by one. First is APA style, again, which is a very common one. And I have listed down the rules and regulations of APA style. So, what happens in APA style is, this is the end referencing, complete references where you write. This is in text citation, like within the text when you write. So, here in APA style, your surname, then your first name, initial. Initial name means the letter with which the author's first name starts. Like, for example, in my case, this is Mishra and this is R. I don't have a middle name. If I would have been, then initial of that middle name. Initial means the first letter of your name. Okay. Then where, when, and which year the article was published. If you see here, okay, it's not necessarily that you should have date all the time. Then article title, like this, then journal magazine title, like this, then your volume, which is outside the bracket, then your issues, which is inside the bracket, and your page number. Okay, so this is the complete referencing under APA style. Then your in-text citation is just the surname and comma year. Okay, then comes your Vancouver style. The rules and regulations for Vancouver style is here. Now here, one catch is that for every end referencing, you give a number. Instead of, just mentioning the in-text citation like this, in in-text citation, you just mention the number. And if any reviewer wants to check this citation, he may refer or she may refer to the phone number at the last. Okay, I hope this discussion is clear. I mean, this explanation about Vancouver is clear to you all. Moving on to the next one. Next is Chicago style. In Chicago style, also again, the author's last name, the first name as in the initial of the first name, the title of the article, here, name of the journal, here, volume, issue, page number. Here also index citation is your surname and the year. Okay. So here it should be 2008. Then comes your MLA style. Again, this is author's last name, first name, year, title of article, name of the journal, year, pages. Okay. I've also mentioned, like here also I've mentioned, in which domain, in which field of the study, which citation has been mostly used. If you see here, okay. So whenever you are submitting a paper, okay, all of you please remember, or whenever you're submitting a paper or you're submitting a dissertation, the submission organization, wherever you are submitting, they tells you which kind of referencing they want. So you have to adopt that one. Okay. Okay. Now that was from my end. We all are open for the questions now. Okay. Ma'am, here we have any order in year. I think you were talking about organizing your literature. Yes, you may go for the ascending or descending order. What is a comprehensive or systematic review? Comprehensive, which we just discussed, and systematic is basically you're choosing the specific number of articles on the basis of the criterias you have. That I would like to include these many articles with these is the basis of the criteria for me, which is definitely this webinar is planned in future for us. Okay, truncation I already answered. AI I already answered. Okay, how much we believe, like how many number of articles? Now that depends upon what should be the referencing number. Okay, for a literature, for a research paper, 8 to 10 would be okay. If you are doing a qualitative paper, literature based paper, more than that. But if you're doing a qualitative paper, 8 to 10 would be okay, no problem for that. However, for a thesis, not purely depends upon your topic. Purely depends upon your topic. Okay. Uh, we are open for the question, guys. Please feel free. I would appreciate that if it can be, an open discussion panel. Like if everybody can be a part for the discussion, it would be really great. Are we asking any questions? Please, guys, please feel free. See, Mr. Dhyaneshwar, I will take back to you on the slide. Like for example, the entire literature presenting you in the slide in the webinar would probably not be possible for you. Like we find out the literature gap in this previous slide. Here, now we will work on the socially withdrawn behavior in kids imposed with career choice. Okay, this is due to the scarcity of the one example of literature I have given you in the slides. Can you explain in brief about the structure of literature? Yes, definitely, Mr. Mankarjun. You start with introduction first. Okay, you give an idea about your authors, that what they are going to read about and why it is important to read. First thing. Second, you talk about the major theories, major definitions related to that, major arguments. Let me take you to the example of it, which I have presented in the slide. Let's have a quick look here. Okay, see, first you start with just introducing that topic. Okay, then you talk about the major arguments, negative impacts, positive impacts. Then you conclude the literature. So this is just a very small example of the literature, that you start with the discussion on the familiarity of the topic, then you made on the major discussion done on the topic, and then you conclude. And here in between, you can give your own opinion in a line or so after each discussion if you think so. the same one, Dipti, your author surname, initial name, not that any major changes have come. Okay. Darshna, I will format, I will send you with the example. I'll share it with my team. Okay. I'll share you with the team. Basically, what happened is they are more on empirical research. IEEE format, what you are saying for literature review, they are more on empirical research, and similar way basically they adopt for the one which I had discussed with you. Similar way they choose for their own format for the literature review, but is main on what do you call as empirical research. Okay. um, for the PMLA ninth edition, you can say that spellings mainly need to be focused on various spellings which are otherwise not acceptable in the previous referencing style, but they accept it. However, any quote, if there is, it has to be present in the quote inverted commas. How to choose the right literature for my specific research area? I have discussed it, Anand, that you please be very focused on the right kind of keywords, the right kind of combination, and right sources as well. Okay. I just got Shwetang. You need to elaborate on your question, which I just got a link. How can I cover the lost content? You need to just elaborate on your question. Anand, I think I just answered. I just answered that with the right kind of combination of the keywords and on the right kind of sources. Mr. Tube, right? I think I discussed about truncation. Truncation means you are extending the keyword search just by putting an asterisk on one of your keywords. So any related word to that keyword, similarly spelled, will also come into your search. No, 20 years Mallikarjun will be too old, provided your topic is not such. Okay. Otherwise, up to 10 years, okay. Anupriya, when I told you about the database filters, just put the filter of peer reviewed journals. All the rated will come, majority of them. And you can apply this filter into your any database which you are referring to. AI tool for literature review, Preeti. Now, this is a very sensitive topic, which I say that ChatGPT is generally being used by a lot of students. I personally, I have not used any till now. Chatbox, ChatGPT, Research Rapid, they are mainly being used by students. Semantic Scholar, I should not have told you like this, but yes, if your jokes apart, if your search is till your alignment and outlining the content, not heavily depending on that, it's okay. Okay, Shwetank, you will get the recording of the session. Don't worry about it. How to choose the right literature for Anand? You're writing the questions again and again. I mean, same question I told you just. Shwetank, you will get the recording. No worries. Preeti, I think I've answered your question. That means the literature review goes without criteria. Oh, I found borders for it. Now, who said, Alison, that your literature reviews goes without criteria? It's very similar that if you have noticed that I told you that you get a lot of information. Okay. Now you have to finalize your variables. You have to discuss you have to make sure that what kind of variables I'm looking forward for. You should have a research problem in hand. So when you have a right kind of research problem in hand, you get boundaries for your literature. But yes, no need to go endlessly looking for literature. There is no need to go for that. You have to put on the boundaries for your literature based on your variables and research problem. Anipro, I think same question I have answered. that you need to put in the database filters. What should be the right literature for longitudinal study? For a longitudinal study, I would say that you go for qualitative studies, discussion based qualitative studies. You go for it. Et al means when there are more than two authors, then they put et al. ETOAL. Yes, I think Scopus is Dipankar is better, perfect for me. Theoretical and empirical literature reviews, basically, theoretical gives you the qualitative aspect of a literature review, and empirical gives you a quantitative aspect. So, when you want to support one theoretical data, you do it with the empirical data. So, in supporting, or you can use them as a counter arguments as well, that based on the theoretical studies, this results was coming. However, not the similar results came in empirical. Okay. Okay, Anand. What was your question? Let me go back to it. Okay, specific research area when you talk about Anand, firstly, you should have a clear research problem in hand. Clear, I do not mean that what needs to be mentioned in your thesis or paper. You should have a tentative, fair, good idea about your research paper. Based on that, generate a list of keywords. List of keywords. Okay, the keywords can also include your region if you are talking about any kind of specific people you want to talk about, any particular domain you want to. So prepare a list of, then search your literature on the basis of the permutation combination of putting those keywords together. Okay. How to choose limited material for literature when there is too much material? Okay, that's what I said, that you need to be clear with your research problem first. See, majority of the filtration comes when you are not looking for too much of old literature. Majority. Plus, filter your search with what kind of journals you're looking for. You're only, I think, if you would like to go for any good quality literature, look for only peer reviewed. Okay. Thank you, tech boy. Madam, my topic is impact of social and economic dynamics on sustainable retail growth, a study organized in retail. So it's a very good one. Na? So you have social economic dynamics. One, sustainable retail growth, balanced retail growth. Okay. Now, just don't be specific and put studies in, put and take Karnataka as a keyword. Karnataka, if you put it as a keyword, it will shrink your search. Okay. A growth in organized or sustainable growth in retail, something like this also you can put it on. Okay. Or you can say the sustainable retail growth in southern India. I have a question about research. Actually, I'm planning to work on fish diversity in a wetland till date. Very limited study I've been in. Yeah, it can be. It can be definitely, RF, whosoever, whatever your name is. Yes, it can be. So if you think so that there is very limited work has been done, you may go ahead. Social media on election campaigns. Any suggestion for best source of? So see, Shwetang, this topic I think must be widely covered, very widely covered. You may go for you may choose to talk about how, just focus on how specific social media tools impact on elections, because this is very widely done. Yeah, Rafia. So I think I have answered your question, Rafia. Okay, Shwetang. um Best source of literature review again, major source databases, right? Yes, Dr. Deepa, recording will be sent to you all. Yeah. Is there any very yeah, yeah, see, particularly focusing on focus group will not be there. Yeah, but webinar on qualitative analysis we do plan. Yeah. Thank you, Rafia. Thank you so much. We do plan for that. For a new topic getting previous literature is difficult. How to go about it? Example: I was searching for consumer preference on biodegradable tableware, but did not come up. See, if you talk about consumer preference on biodegradable tableware, this is a very widely done research, because change in the pattern of people using cutlery have changed. Now you have to see that, are you talking about this kind of, I'm taking cutlery. Okay, tableware is something which people or biodegradable tableware is which people something which not bring it to their home for their regular consumption. Now, even today, melamine or steel or the ceramic is still popular. However, you can talk about that, how the transition is happening from these kind of utensils to the traditional or biodegradable way. This you may talk about. Okay, so just do not get, if you're not finding enough literature on tableware, you may go for biodegradable cutleries. Okay, so you may discuss the transition of that material to this material of consumers. Okay, thank you, Anand. Thank you so much. Any questions we are open for, guys? Please feel free for your questions. If you write a paragraph by your own and paragraph it in ChatGPT, will it be okay? Yeah, that's what I say. That you may use ChatGPT for your alignment, for probably refining your language. That is okay. I mean, again, there's a catch that how much, because couple of universities in different parts of the world have actually banned students from using AI. So if your supervisor is okay with it, and but if the content is yours, you're not adopting it from chat api, I think outlining and structuring will be okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Rafia. Thank you so much. Is there any other question? Guys, feel free to write on your questions. I'll be glad to take on all. My topic is related to resisting patriarchy through mythical retellings. Oh my god, very hard on the English vocabulary, Deepti. Now I find that it is much research with feminist approach. So how could I be specific? Now you can talk about, if you're talking, see, feminist approach is generally very wide term to be researched. You may choose the couple of variables which are contributing to feminist approach, and you may talk about them, or you may talk about any specific region, right? Again, how to revise Zemisa is by putting on the database filters, which till which year, what kind of literature you want, that ways, particular subjects, that ways. Dipti, you may choose to talk about the variables impacting feminist approach or any region, like I said. Thank you, Gopi. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure, Dipankar, I would. Now, if we go to the paraphrasing here, yeah, this one. So you just have to, change the language of, if you just read the text on your own, the original one and the paraphrased one as well. You'll come to know that the meaning of the original text remains intact in the paraphrasing one. However, the structure gets completely a new look. So this is what you get to know when you read different literature, that you get to know the different styles of reading. Okay, any other questions, anyone? Guys, please feel free to post your questions. Please, guys, if you're writing your literature, if you are coming across any difficulties, any concern, this is a platform where you can share your problems and concern. And I will try my level best to, give you a proper solution for that. So if you have question in any mind or any issue which is going through, thank you so much, Dipankar. Thank you so much. If you would like to, you know, discuss your problem on this platform, it'll be great because you'll get the hands-on feedback. Okay, Seema, guide some tricks about to find review of literature. Seema, like I told you, you can work on your keywords firstly. See, keyword is the key for a successful literature. So, right kind of keyword and a very defined or refined literature or research problem. Sorry. Okay, that will lead you to the good literature. Will it be possible for a conductor lecture on? Definitely. Okay. All right. Okay, Rafia. This it's kind of very specific. I think this is your concern right now. You clearly explained. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anupriya. Thank you. I have chosen contemporary Indian literature, but there is a much of risk of plagiarism. Why? Why plagiarism? You will be converting it to your own language, as it is much discussed on feminine. I worried about it. See, plagiarism can only be uh, mm, counted upon if you will not follow the rules, that giving proper citations, changing the language. Because see, everyone is doing research. Any which ways you have to take the literature. So, but there are many topics which are much talked about. So don't worry about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm, Possible to share the PPT deck with the participant. Yeah, it will be shared, Dipankar. Your recording, your PPTs, everything will be shared with you. No worries about it. Okay, this is basically a recorded session. Your certificates along with your PPTs, it'll be in your email ID. Dipti, don't worry about it, okay? Because because if it's a lot much more discussed topic, you just have to probably, I would say that refine your topic a little bit, or probably be specific in your topic a little bit. That's it. Rest will be, I think, will be fine. All right, guys. If we do not have much questions? Okay, there's one more. Please, would you support in providing a list of free Scopus journals in business economies? Um, I Cube. Now again, Scopus journals. Basically, there is a list of Scopus. Excel is given and pasted on Scopus database website. You all of you, not only you, all of you can go actually to the website, can find out the list of that. There you will find out the requisite journal of your choice, because in business also they have multiple. Nowadays R is the most used software, right, as it's a free one, so much, no much guidance. All right, definitely, Rafia, we'll talk about it. Thank you. Yeah, nowadays actually, see, basically our software is being used in India, right? And we have multinational audience, but definitely we'll take care of your topic suggestion. Definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pratibha. Thank you so much. See you all in the next week, next webinar. All right, you'll be informed about it. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.